Morning, everybody. I have 8:30 on my fancy dancy little laptop here. I will call this meeting to order. This is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Pershing County Board of Commissioners. Today is Wednesday, August 18th, and our first item of business is the Pledge of Allegiance.
States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Approval of minutes. The minutes from July 7th.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from July 7th. And I'll second that, noting that they're past 45 days.
We have a motion and a second for approval.
Are we 41? Okay,
Good job, Lacey.
all right.
So we have a motion and a second for approval of minutes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passed. Public input. Public comments and discussion. No action may be taken on a matter raised under this item of the agenda until the item itself has been placed on an agenda upon which action will be taken. Public commentary will generally be limited to 3 minutes per person. Any public comments? Barbara, you've been here the longest.
I'm here.
You need to come up, please.
For the record, it's Barbara Tobin.
I'm here representing the Red Cross. They are working on recruiting members for a disaster readiness team for Pershing County. They have a lot of ways to volunteer and they have some information that they have a virtual volunteer fair that happens once a month that little flyer, some flyers for you if you would like them. And
Thank you very much.
and they have lots of ways to volunteer, and some of them are virtual, some of them are in person, some of them take a lot of time, some of them don't take very much time. But I just wanted to make the commissioners and the community aware that they are actively recruiting volunteers for their disaster readiness team.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Other comments?
Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
We are.
For the record,
Bonnie Scobly, sorry, Bonnie Scobly. There's several of us here interested in Article 13, and we were wondering if that could be put first in the agenda list, so the people that are here can,
to do for what?
number 13. If you can move it to the top.
Okay,
Okay, and if you do, can we have public input? Will we be able to have public input after you discuss it, or should we do that during public input?
if you have public input, please do.
Okay, thank you.
No, I mean now.
Oh, well, I thought.
This is the time for public
There's other
input.
people for, I just was asking a question. But thank you, Larry.
Any other public comments?
My name is Wendy Nelson for the record. Good morning.
Good
I
morning.
just wanted to go over a few facts, and it is regarding item 13 on the agenda. I know you'll be discussing that soon. So May 19th, 2021, Mr. Wagner appeared before this board regarding the possible removal of the fire debris on Main Street, including the waivers for the dump fees, water for dust control, providing gravel from county gravel pit, and liability release for the contractors. What was established during this meeting was that there were 3 entities that would not be paying the fees, and that they are the county landfill, the owners of those properties, and the contractors / volunteers of the project. And the motion was followed. I've watched the recording of this multiple times, and it was Carol Shank motioned at 333. So 030303 in the motion. I will go ahead and make a motion that we will go ahead and approve allowing the removal of the fire debris from the 3 parcels on Main Street to be put at the dump, and we will pursue funding in some way to offset those dump fees, such as NDEP, private donations, go into the mines, whatever, but this is something that needs to be accomplished, and the county will help with the gravel and any other ways we can. Shayla seconded the motion. The offset to those entities not paying the fees is that you, the county commissioners, were going to find ways to get those covered via NDEP, which I know Carol has asked, private donations or mines, or however, GoFundMe was even mentioned at one point. Carol had asked at 247.58 mark if the owners had any issues with paying the fees, and Mr. Wagner informed them that property owners do not agree to pay the fees. So they do not agree to pay the fees. Putting a lien on the properties would have been the conclusion to that meeting. Also, if putting a lien on the properties would have been the conclusion to that meeting, 1, the project would not have moved forward because it would have required this board to legally notify the property owners of your intent to place a lien on their properties, and that did not happen. So due process at a minimum means that a citizen who will be affected by a government decision must be given advance notice of what the government plans to do and how the government action may deprive them of life, liberty, and property. And there are 2 requirements for due process, and that is 1, was adequate notice given, and number 2, did the person have the opportunity to be heard? Neither of these constitutional processes have been followed, which makes this item on the agenda moot and in violation of their constitutional rights. Which needs to happen is either the body waive the fees, which Larry had mentioned in the 245 mark, that the commissioners had already agreed to waive the fees for NDEP. And so I don't know why we couldn't do that still, or we can get donations going and pay for it. And so that is my remark. The offset is that we all agreed in that meeting that those 3 entities are not paying them. So that's my public comment. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Any other public comments?
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
good morning, Jeremy Hudson. I'm Vice President of BSL Electric here in Lovelock, we're a local company. So I was made aware of a letter that was given to the board here concerning a parcel out at Right Patch. Now, the owners, they went through a whole long list of things, and essentially what they try to do is they try to establish that we, giving them a bid, we're trying to take advantage of them. There some information in there that was not exactly forthright. It was a little misleading. For instance, the owner tried to say that despite our original bid being $22,000, MB Energy came in saying that, $17,300 for a separate parcel, but it was a much larger scope of project. Well, that is misleading in the fact that our bid covered every bit of the electrical that was involved in that I guess for the development of that parcel. So it included the dirt work, it included pipe, conduit, all the equipment, material, labor, all that. So after talking with them, they didn't like that, so we scaled it back. We got with their contractor for the house and installation and that, and he was going to take care of all the the excavation and pipe work and all that. So we scaled it back. Essentially what it boils down to is this man is trying, or these folks are trying to say that we are being unethical and we're being, I don't know how you would put it, but he's trying to say that we are sticking it to him essentially, and that's not the truth. We gave him a competitive bid. We don't care if he goes and seeks bid elsewhere. It's not a big deal. But I wanted it to be on record that he is only giving you one side of the story, and he's withholding some information that it is actually good there. If you guys have any questions about this, we can speak, and you guys are welcome to speak to us at any time, and we can give you more information on it if you want it. But I want it noted that we're not taking advantage of this man and his family. We gave him a competitive bid, and he is welcome to find it elsewhere. But in doing what he did, he's presenting us with a poor image to our community that we serve, and that is not acceptable.
Yeah.
So that's all I have to say. And if you guys have any questions or anything, well, everybody knows my number. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any questions on Zoom? Or I shouldn't say questions, public comments? No. Okay, number 3, review of all agenda items to determine if any do or do not impose a direct and significant economic burden on the business or directly restrict the formation, operation, or expansion of a business.
I didn't see anything. I'll make a motion if there's none. I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. So that you can go to work on road department.
Are we doing 13?
I'm gonna have road department first so we can go to work.
Okay.
I have to.
Yes.
Good morning, how are you guys?
Good morning.
So, man, I can't believe my list is smaller than it's ever been, but we've been busy. Had a couple guys off, different ailments and death in the family, so we get a whole lot accomplished the last 2 weeks as we'd like to, but anyways, we're still patching Coal Canyon. We're gonna have to wrap it up. We need to do a lot more, but we can't. We met with Core yesterday and we need to go patch Core, to make a long story short. It's probably a week's worth of work. We're running out of summer, so
Yeah.
we're gonna wrap up Coal Canyon, go up there. Additionally, we've been working on Duncan's Road. We've got the base down from the river to the end of the pavement there of the frontage road. So it's a good thing. It needed it for years. So, and we hope to get it capped with granite this late summer and fall, but I don't know, things are not looking good to that end because other stuff keeps coming up. Mr. Vasco called me and we got to have some blowouts out on Grass Valley Road. We're gonna have to go take care of. That's another 3 days out of our deal. So anyways, and also I finally put up the signs for our for Coyote Creek Road, and then also went and put one on the back of Rye Patch. We cleaned up the transfer sites again. It was a bad one this time. Emily was really bad. They're dumping straight garbage in our burn area. It's really a bummer. Oh, and then somebody put a mobile home there too. So we
Yeah.
cleaned that up. Say about that.
Did you
anyhow.
ever find out who did the mobile home?
Yeah,
So have they been contacted or?
I've tried. I mean, I've let the sheriff's office know, but they're super busy too, so. It didn't sound like it was very high on their priority list. Actually gonna see a friend. Is that something Fran could work on, guys?
What's that?
Illegal dumping in the burn areas like that.
Yeah, we'll have to get together and talk about it.
Yeah, but anyways, yeah, as time allows. I mean, it is what it is. We cleaned it up. It's nothing new, so. It's one truckload of stuff to Lovelock.
If it's not a code violation, then it's not within her purview, but if it's a violation of an ordinance or statute,
Yeah.
then it would be
Yeah.
local law enforcement.
I'll talk to you about that. There's some health violation there. That falls under her purview, but anyways, regardless, it's just an ongoing problem we created by doing those burn piles. I think we're still saving money in the long run with the hauling fees. You know, if Haas were to haul all that stuff off. So we'll just keep swinging away. And we also bladed the road out to our granite pit. Like I said, hopefully we're gonna haul some granite on that road at Duncan's and make it a really nice road. Cheryl needed us to redo our hazardous chemical list, so I put the 2 new guys on it. Jacob did most. So I was just gonna let you guys know that was pretty extensive. I appreciate doing it. I didn't have time to do it. They did a good job between him and Rackley to get it done. So. That's pretty much all I have.
Okay. So we have a salary resolution. A guy named Trevor Rackley. Go for it.
So I'll make a motion that we go ahead and approve the salary resolution for Trevor Rackley, effective August 9th, 2021, as an admin clerk 1, bringing him in at 23.9.
I will second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passed. Just for edification, this individual is we took a while to figure this out. My uncle's great grandson. So it goes along with that. Okay, then we have a request from Burroughs Farm for the county to grant an easement to Burroughs Farm for Reservation Road from the intersection Star Route 397 and Reservation Road to 7 Ditch Road. Come on, man. Yeah.
Ron Burrows. So all we're trying to do is make our place safe. There's been some vandalism down there on that road in my yard where all the equipment's at. It's hard to keep people out when you have a county road going through the middle of your property. The road only services the ranch. Historically, it was a county road because the bridge went across the river. The flood of 83, 84 took the bridge out and never been put back in. So the road's been maintained to the headquarters, I believe, for the bus route, which there hasn't anyone jumped on a bus there in years and years and years. So just to clean it up and to be able to stop trespassers, I'm willing to take the road back. And I don't believe I need an easement. I think I own the property and you guys have an easement to maintain the road. So I don't think it's a big legal deal.
Have you looked at this?
I have looked at it.
And
Well, even if Burroughs Farm does own the property and the county has a road easement through his property. So the county can either abandon that easement, abandon the road, or we just can convey an easement back to Burroughs Farms. So if the county is willing to go forward, then whatever process is the easiest, that's the one that we should pursue. So either an abandonment or just convey an easement to Burroughs.
So wouldn't abandonment of the road be best?
Yeah, it'd have to be agendized though, and then we have to,
And it's not that
no.
written that way.
So
And really, I don't see. If you give me permission to convey the easement, I can draft an easement and I can just record it. And then there's no need to have it on the agenda again.
and that basically it becomes a private road.
Right.
I will make that motion.
yeah,
And I'll second that.
we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. It's your court.
Thank you. Yeah. Landfill, I don't have a lot. We do have a couple of expensive bills pending up there. We had to retract the dozer. That's about 12,000. We're both, so it's gonna be about 24,000. We retract the dozer and then we had to redo the tires on the older loader up there. So I just want to let you guys know that's kind of what's going on up there. Place looks great. I think Ken Kite's gonna work out, I hope. Really nice guy. Steven seems to get along with him so far.
Good.
It's only been a few days, so
Nice.
he's hard on him, so we'll see.
So we have a salary resolution for
Yeah,
Ken Kite.
So I'll make the motion that we approve the salary resolution for Ken Kite effective August 11th, 2021 as a landfill operator, bringing him in at 24/7.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passed.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay,
Okay,
Thank
thank you
you.
very much.
okay, moving right along. We'll go jump down to item 13 on our agenda for the day. And that's discussion regarding proceeding with the process to place liens on 260 Main Street, 250 Main Street, and 230 Main Street to reimburse Pershing County for the cost incurred with cleanup of the debris. I know you have comments on this.
Yeah, so previously when the board had brought it up initially, my biggest concern was whether the property owners had adequate notice that the board placed a lien on their property after doing the cleanup. By statute, if you look at chapter 444 in the NRS, the owner of the owner or the operator of a landfill can place a lien on properties for unpaid landfill assessments or for unpaid special user fees. But then we go to the meeting. So if we're thinking about due process, there's two types of due process. There's procedural due process, there's substantive due process. Substantive due process is whether the government has the authority to take a certain action. Okay. The government, Pershing County, has the authority to place a lien on a property owner who doesn't pay a landfill assessment or doesn't pay a special user fee. But there's another component of due process, and that's called procedural due process. And procedural due process evokes more of a fairness issue, more of a notice issue. Wendy had alluded to it. You could tell that she's a judge's daughter because she brought up the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution, which guarantees that no life, liberty, or property can be taken without due process of law. When we go to the May 19th meeting, the board's motion, to me, it clearly stated that the board was going to allow for this project to go forward. It was going to allow all of the debris to be placed in the landfill, and alternative methods or alternative avenues will be explored to pay the dump fees. That indicates to me that these property owners did not have notice that the county was going to require dump fees, and that the county was going to pursue a lien on the property if those dump fees were not paid. So as the board's attorney, I'm concerned that if the board decides to place a lien on the properties, we're not going to be following procedural due process, and that these property owners, their rights under the United States Constitution is going to be violated because they didn't have notice of the board's action. They didn't have notice that these landfill assessments were, one, going to be required, and two, if they were required and they weren't paid, that the county would place a lien on their property. I also have a concern that when all of the debris was picked up and taken to the landfill, it wasn't separated out. And so there's no way to really tell which debris belonged to which property. It's all just a big pile out there.
Mhm.
So if you say, okay, well, there's $10,000 due to landfill fees, how do you know which property pays which amount? You can't
That's
just
why,
split it.
the total amount was split 3 ways.
Well, I don't know why it's split 3 ways, because there's only 2 property owners.
There's 3 lots, and it was split 3 ways because there's 3 lots.
Right, but even that's not fair. Because if there's 3 property owners and 2 of them had all the debris, and one of them had, I don't know, 2 cubic yards, then why would that property owner be on the hook for the same amount as the other 2 property owners? That's another procedural due process issue that I see.
So I would
So-
note,
Go ahead.
I would note in that, the minutes of that meeting, that the Board of County Commissioners did not say that we would waive landfill fees.
And I will say, as I've argued before, that that was the intent, that we would not lien, the property owners would not be responsible for it. So if we were going to pursue other avenues to pay for that, I did check with DEP. They could not use the brownfields funding for it because the Brownsfield contractor did not do the work. They did not have any other funds that are available to cover those fees. So that avenue is not there. If the county wants to go and do other fundraising, either, we always ask the mines, we always ask other people to fund everything. But if we want to go forward with that, then that's something that we could do. But it was very clear the landowners were not going to be responsible for those fees. It was also very clear that if that was going to be a requirement, there was no way that property was going to get cleaned up. And you even stated some things to that effect when I watched the video. So I will make a motion that we do not place a lien on these parcels.
Well, I still feel that the county shouldn't be on the hook for these. But I also am not willing to submit this county to legal litigation.
Well, if we were to put liens on these properties, then if I were a property owner, I would file suit against the county. We would lose. It would cost us more than these landfill fees to justify our position, which we don't have a justification. We would lose and the property owners would win. So, you know, and it's an embarrassment to this commission that we go back on our word.
It's an embarrassment for this commission to put the cost of taking that material or the fees for the landfill to be waived, and the county taxpayer has to pay for it.
Then we need to find other means of funding it.
You said
Whether-
that last time and it didn't go anywhere.
It isn't my responsibility to do that. I'm one person. I
So do
did
we have a
check
second
with-
to that
I did
motion?
check.
Can I say something first?
Yeah, by all means.
This county doesn't have the revenue to go to court, or face litigation. I still feel that the property owners should probably pay dump fees, but we don't have any legal recourse right now without violating constitutional rights. So I will second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
I
I oppose. Motion passed.
thank you. Thank you for your comments, everyone, and for being here.
Okay, going back to buildings and grounds, John is not here. He's homesick. Senior Center. Update on congregate and homebound meals being served. I'll just give you information on these one at a time. Homebound is being served and we get 20 to 25 a day that we deliver lunches to. The congregate side, because of personnel, not enough personnel, congregate was closed on August 2nd. And that'll be reopened once we get cooks to do meals.
Have you had
It's as
applicants
simple
for
as that.
cooks?
I have 2 new applicants just yesterday. So we will be setting up interviews for those 2.
So do we have
Yes, sir.
applications for the director position?
And as a matter of fact, I do have 1 application. And we'll be setting up, or we'll put that on agenda to interview that one as well.
Shouldn't,
In the meantime, we're doing 2 cook positions.
so shouldn't the director be involved in hiring at least the head cook?
You want me to put it off hiring cooks for a couple months till we can hire a
It
director?
would take a couple months.
Last time you got involved in hiring a director, it took us 4 months to hire a director.
That's because you went about the process where the commissioner over the senior center had a recommendation for who was to be hired and promised that job to somebody. And then it turned out that the individuals that had applied for it, they withdrew their applications and it created a big mess. We have too much hands-on with regard to the senior center by the commission.
We're making the senior center operate as well as we can with what we have. We were down to 0 employees. We have now hired 1 employee, and all the rest of it is being volunteer help, including myself. I have not seen you volunteer to drive homebound. I've not seen you volunteer to work in the kitchen to cook for the homebound.
No, and you won't, because I don't feel I should have that.
But we should
hands-on.
just stop homebound?
No, but
So on the issue of the order in which these employees need to be hired, it's clear that the senior center is being held together by baling wire and duct tape, basically.
The senior center is
That's
operating.
not, yeah, it's
It's
operating, no doubt, but it's operating by volunteers only. I don't think it makes a lot of sense to delay hiring anybody just so that the director can participate in the hiring process.
Right. So anyway, so we're gonna hire cooks.
I think that as the opportunities arise to hire people, the board needs to pursue those and get those positions filled.
Yeah. We're gonna continue with the process of hiring cooks. We'll have interviews next week for the 2 new applicants. And we need to set a time for, which is on the agenda, interviews for the director position.
Currently, you only have one applicant for a director.
Yes,
it's also in today's paper again. Is that right? The director position is in today's paper again. Yeah.
If we are going to do interviews for a director and it's the whole commission, we need to do them before or by September 1st. I will be out of town for 10 days.
after September 1st. you will.
After September, no, before September 1st. I am leaving.
Oh, you're not at the
September 2nd.
September 1st or September 1st. You're not here at that
I
meeting.
will be here at that meeting.
Oh.
I'm leaving that evening.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'm hoping to get at 1 o'clock on September 1st. For the,
1 o'clock on the 1st
that works for me.
works for me. At 1 o'clock?
Yes.
So the other things on the agenda, approved to hire the clerk 1, clerk 2, homebound driver, which is a 3/4 time position.
Everybody quit, Larry?
What's that?
Everybody quit?
I was down to 0 employees, yes. 1 retired. The other one's left. I won't go into the rest of why they left.
So even your admin, part-time admin person.
Yes,
We have one employee. One, and then we have a,
You have my community center.
no, she's the on-call.
You have what?
Oh, okay, never mind. My community
You were
center
confused.
coordinators helping out.
Is she?
oh, yes,
helping-
she is helping out and she's a big help.
Is she helping out every day? I'm just
Pretty
asking.
much, yes.
She's evidently working at the senior center in the mornings and the community center in the afternoon.
Yep. And believe me, it's a big help. Anyway, so I need a motion to advertise for the admin 1 or admin 2 and a home driver.
I will make that motion.
And I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passed.
Okay, the safe serve certification, I think, since it is required federally and by the state, that everybody, the director the admin assistant and
That's why I put
all
that
the
up.
cooks.
That's
take
why I
that
put it
class.
on here. We have a training session set up for next Thursday, the 26th. And
Second, you probably won't have all your employees though.
what?
You won't have all your, as you add your employees or find your cooks.
We are set up to have 4 people in that class on the 26th. And 2 of which are volunteers, but they're going to take the class. What's going to be interesting, yesterday I had a Zoom meeting with all of the rest of the senior centers in Northern Nevada. And they're aware of this training session. A couple of them they're in the same boat. They're down to no director. 3 of them are. And the same thing on a serve safe. So I'm going to be surprised if they don't have tried to have somebody else come in from other places for this training session. And that's not a motion we have to make. I would just put it on there so everybody knows what was going on.
And we have a salary resolution for
For Candace Johnson, that's the one
cook we have hired.
we did hire.
Okay, I will make the motion to approve the salary resolution for 17, step 3.
Mhm. And I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed.
Mary, I think we have an application in our office for you too.
I picked up 2 yesterday or day
Did you
before.
get them yesterday? Okay, I think it came in Monday. So you should have.
Yeah, I picked up 2. Fire and ambulance. I don't see anybody here. The chiefs aren't here. For fire ambulance in Lovelock. We have Grass Valley here. Good morning, Sean.
Good morning.
So Grass Valley Fire Department, we're at 17 out of 18 members, had a couple new folks sign up within the last month. We're making good progress on our firefighter 1 training. We're chapter 11 out of 15. As soon as we get done with the book work, probably in the winter time, we'll be moving on to do the skills testing, and then we'll have people qualified as firefighter 1s across the board. At least. Still don't intend to engage with the state fire marshal's office, just due to their intransigence. So, but I think that we had a good discussion at we had a chiefs meeting last
Friday.
Friday, and I had a good discussion about how we're going to proceed with that. And I think, the big issue there is what qualifies us for the grant funding. And so I think we're on a good path with that. Our brush truck remains our primary concern, still out of service, can't get the engine fixed, it, basically needs a replacement. So we're
Yes.
eagerly looking forward to the prioritization of funding coming down the road.
Yep.
At that fire chiefs meeting, we had a discussion about, forming a Pershing County Fire District to facilitate funding. I see Mike is here. Maybe he can add on to that later, but I'll be sending an email to the district attorney to explore how we can go about that. Keeping the 4 departments as, stations or whatever the proper method is to remain, kind of independent, but for funding purposes, having a unified district. So we'll start that ball rolling. And also
Excluding Lovelock, Sean? That would exclude Lovelock.
and then working on the sheriff's office has asked for us to kind of delineate some boundaries. They have a bunch of new dispatchers and, where they stop calling Emily and start calling Lovelock. Those kinds of things, they need to be defined and put in writing. So we'll be working on those issues. And that is really it for Grass Valley Fire.
Since you're up here, Grass Valley.
You want to talk about the emergency services?
Oh, while you're there, let's do that first.
Okay. So I have submitted that final report approved by all the members, and I think everyone hopefully got a copy of it electronically. We have the original hard copy for whoever's records, whoever cares to have that. I don't know if that's you, Bryce, or Karen. So I'll drop that package off. So fundamentally, we made a series of recommendations, and I would categorize them as there are no golden bullets in there. We did not find an answer that will solve all problems in one fell swoop. And I guess no one should really be surprised if it would have been that easy to have been done already. Right? So we did make a series of recommendations, though, that can address some of the problems and make some headway. And I would just say up front that the recommendations we made should probably be viewed as a system, right? All taken together, they can collectively make a positive difference. If we choose not to take some of those recommendations and not implement some of those things, I think that just leaves additional problems out there that will remain unresolved. So I think and certainly, people can pick and choose, what's most palatable and what is not, what's doable, what is not. But I think if you take it together as a system, it's more likely to get the results we want to get. And I know that's always the difficult part is seeing that as a systems perspective. So to that point, start with the easy one, and that's apply for a SAFER grant. So SAFER grant is a fire-based grant. It's one of the good reasons to keep the EMS system as part of the fire department. And I know Mike will probably want to talk more about that, but it basically pays for people, but it's not forever. So, and the terms of the grant are not really well understood at this point. They've changed. In the past, it was there was a pretty significant match that got greater every year. Maybe since COVID started, that changed last year, and nobody's sure how long that's going to keep on going. But it is to some extent funding that is available in one form or another. So, and Mike, I won't steal Mike's thunder and let him talk about that, but that's our number one recommendation. We also recommended some degree of existing tax fund reprioritization. So it is our belief that hiring at least one person to coordinate the efforts, and I'll talk more about what they should be doing in a second here, but hiring that one person full-time to coordinate the particulars, I don't think we're going to make much headway unless we get that person. And I know when we looked at this and kind of said, well, it's a bit of a chicken or egg situation, right? So do we hire the person in the hope of getting more money, or do we need to get more money before we can hire the person? And I would argue that this is definitely an investment center. We need to hire that person up front. And, I say that based on my personal experience as a guy who does this for a living. The things that need to be done in order for that service to run profitably or at least make some money, that needs a full-time person. It is very difficult, and the county gets a tremendous benefit from its volunteers, particularly in the EMS field where they have extensive qualification requirements, annual or biannual recertification. That's a huge time sink. And without someone, dependent on a volunteer to run all the administrative, the billing stuff in particular, I don't think Marty Nolan, who is filling that position right now, does a wonderful job. But meanwhile, she's got a family and a day job. And I don't think you'll find anybody who has the bandwidth to do all that on a volunteer basis. So we think it's pretty important that we hire a person to do that, to focus on quality assurance in the system, to focus on billing, revenue generation. And we think that, part of that is from SAFER grant, but part of that probably from tax reprioritization. So taking a hard look at, what the county's doing and can, some positions maybe be deferred elsewhere to prioritize that public safety effort. So that's our second recommendation. Then third's a big one, revenue generation. So the billing company that's being used right now is not getting it done, to be
Mhm.
frank,
Right.
and not sure why. And so there needs to be a wholehearted effort to investigate that and find out what's going on, why, billing dropped by 50% in the course of 1 year. When they switched from Remza to this new company, they lost 50% of their revenue.
Right.
And that's, if it had been over the course of years, demographics had changed, call volume had changed, all that stuff, I could understand that. This is inexplicable, and it sounds to me like somebody needs to be.
Somebody's dropping the ball somewhere.
Yeah, so I think that's an easy one, or at least, we know what to do with that. But
We talked about this, but it's, to me, it's prudent that, let's say a full-time employee could work on that and bring that revenue up enough to pay for that position.
Yeah, I think that would be the ideal situation. And, and again, with billing companies, depending on who you get, or even the individual working your accounts, it takes some full-time oversight, right? We have managers in the world for a reason, because people left to their own devices don't always do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
So I think that's a key part of it. I think that the county and the fire department needs to also do a thorough review of what fees they're charging. I don't feel like their fees are currently in line with industry standards, and I think they could get more from insurance companies if they do a thorough review of that billing. So that's an important part. There's a separate program to enhance Medicaid payments. It does require some funds invested up front. Maybe that's a little bit lower of a priority, but right now Medicaid is paying about 6 cents on the dollar. So for every dollar I bill you for an ambulance ride, Medicaid, if that's your funding source, pays 6 cents on the dollar.
Yeah.
Anything that you can invest to improve that, I think, is money well spent. If you can get it up even to 25 cents on the dollar, that's dramatically better. Because really, at 6 cents on the dollar, it's almost not worth running the billing cycle. But you have to, right? You have to bill everybody equally. But that's, Medicaid is definitely taking the cheap out. We also recommend taking a look at the PERS system for all the fire departments. And if given the amount of turnover prior to vestment, there's probably a lot of money put in by the county that goes to waste. It goes to the benefit of the state and could maybe better be utilized by having some kind of structured compensation package. After 2 years or 3 years of being on the department, or whatever the parameters are set, then we'll kick into a 401 or something like that. But right now, it just seems to me, and I know, looking at this from Grass Valley's perspective, a third of our entire budget goes to PERS expenses, it seems like, and there's not a single person on my department who really cares about the PERS. I know.
You just don't care.
No, after when you're 60 or 62 or whatever, you get, enough money to buy beer.
Before that.
And when you're 20, people don't care about that.
Not important to them.
No, now if you could give them some money to put in the 401 that they can manage themselves or something, I think that's a more lucrative thing. Don't confuse the volunteer fire PERS with the state job PERS, right? It's pretty significantly different.
So we checked on PERS. It would require that every single volunteer fire person would vote in an official election to discontinue PERS. And the last time I asked, there were individuals at the Lovelock Fire Department that were not willing to do that. And so unless we have buy-in from every single volunteer fire person, and I agree with you, to me, it's a waste of money. And maybe we need to do a better education of what it could mean to them by giving up the PERS.
I think with some active campaigning, you might be able to reasonably explain that, especially if you, crunch the numbers and showed people what the options are and what the benefits could be, to the long-term success of the departments. So I think there's if you just tell people like, hey, we want to stop doing your PERS so we can do something else, and we don't flesh that out and give them, dollar figures, then maybe there are something here about that. Yeah, and I would so that's kind of it. We talked about, those are the main recommendations. And again, I kind of see this as a systems approach, right? If we attack all those things, we're more likely to get the results that we want. There were some other very attractive options out there that were just not on the table for various reasons. Other organizations were not interested in or able to participate in that. And so, that's an unfortunate limitation that we had to deal with. So, again, I think this is, if you look at this as a systems perspective, I think that's probably the best thing. And I would just say, so probably the worst thing we could do now is do nothing. I think it would be extremely prudent to act now and avert a crisis down the road where options will be significantly more limited. And I know that's, the inertia of making changes is always a very difficult prospect. But if you wait and do nothing, I think we're going to see, eventually, volunteerism is on the decrease across the country, and even paid jobs. In emergency services, I won't, I'm not even discounting the senior center and stuff like that, where it's hard to find people. In Lander County, we compensate people very well, I think, and it's still very difficult to attract people to do emergency service stuff in small town America. So I think, let's not miss the opportunity to do something before we get to a real crisis situation.
So with the SAFER grants, granted, at this time, we don't know all the particulars of it, but that doesn't stop us from applying for the grant.
Absolutely.
And then once approved, then, we would have to then again approve it, but at least we'll know more.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess regardless of what the particulars are of the grant, right? Some free money is better than no free money.
Yeah.
So,
But in order to apply for the SAFER grant, you need to know what you're applying for.
yeah,
And so I had requested at the last meeting, Mr. Chair, that we have a workshop of the commission so we could talk about all these recommendations, so we could go forward, so we would know what we were going to apply for under the SAFER grant and other items as well. And you were going to discuss that with
Mr. Heidemann, since you're in the audience, in applying for the SAFER grant, what kind of information do we have to put in to apply for that? Come on up.
Now I can put you on the spot.
Of course.
So SAFER grant, that's called a NOFO, Notice of Funding Opportunity. And that is not out yet. We expect it to be out probably late September or October. And that will lay out all of the stipulations for the grant. The last year's SAFER grant had a zero match due to COVID. And like Sean said earlier, they were 3 and/or 4-year grants prior. So you would have a 90% SAFER, 10% county, 80-20 on down the line until the grant ran out and you paid for it. During the last round, there was no match required. We don't know that that's going to be the case this year. I suspect it might be. And then the other side of that is we have to really have a good business plan. So I think it's going to take a few months to sit down and make a real good business plan that says, this is what we're going to hire. This is going to be their job descriptions. Benefit packages can be included. Anything to do with personnel can be included in that SAFER grant. Then I also think there's potential that we apply for a second SAFER grant, because there are actually 2 pieces to that. One is the hiring, staffing for adequate fire departments is what SAFER is all about. Then there's a recruitment and retention package that is a separate grant, which could be done for recruiting and retaining volunteers. So I have seen departments that are not in PERS start defined benefit programs with that, which is, Sean and I have talked, and we talked about this, that potential of having a defined benefit program through something like Prudential has one, and there are some other ones where the department and or the municipality has control over that. So if somebody leaves, it doesn't go to the state, it stays in your system. You divide it up however you set your bylaws. So I think potentially 2 grants, but I think there's a bit of homework to do to really put a good business plan together, because these are competitive grants.
So who would do the business plan?
I think it would have to do with, well, at this point, and this is a conversation that we had during our conference call, I think it would be a grant that needs to be applied for by Lovelock Volunteer Fire Department, because we don't have at this time a Pershing County Fire Department or district per se. So we're not gonna write 4 grants. So I think it really has to do with the chief, probably the EMS coordinator, to, come up with what they need, how they're gonna staff it, whether it's gonna be 12-hour, 24-hour, if they're gonna be able to respond from home during the evening, if they're gonna have to have living quarters for them, if it's 24-hour coverage, all of those kind of things we have to put together. And then put a good package together in preparation for that NOFO to come out. And so moving forward, the realism of that is it probably will not be due until after the first of the year, probably not be awarded until, I would suspect, April has been the trend.
Even if it's due January 1st, though, that's, TikTok.
That's not very far away.
Time's moving
It's
on.
moving, yes.
Yeah.
And so, I would suggest that having a workshop where the commissioners can sit down with the grant application folks and, Mike and fire chief and EMS coordinator, whoever else needs to get involved in that and start fleshing out some of those issues. How many people, what shifting, how's that going to improve the ambulance service, those kinds of things. I think that's probably the key to getting that kicked off.
Yeah. So we need to,
We need to set up a
we
workshop.
need to set a workshop, and then we can, I guess, approve applying for the safe event. And actually, there's 2 ways of looking at it. You can, of course, you can't apply for it even until October, maybe.
Well, it's got to be released, the notice of funding opportunity, because it'll come out and say, there's 320 million and 170 million of this is for
Yeah.
volunteer fire departments. And the other important piece of that is the way we're set up now, and I don't think that that's going to change, and we've talked about that also, is we cannot apply for a grant for EMS personnel unless they are a standalone EMS unit, not affiliated with the fire department. So the way that we're set up now, where it's fire and EMS both, then we're gonna have to make sure that Fire One qualification is met either by people that are here now that may want to be employed, or as you employ people, they're gonna have to have that fire credentialing also, because it is a fire grant.
But I think that's pretty.
It's
threshold.
absolutely easily doable, but
And then we also need to discuss about forming the district with the other 4 fire departments, because I believe the commission can form a district on its
Yeah,
own.
and I don't know that should get in the way. We should absolutely do that. I think, really the ambulance service, since the thrust of this is really about improving EMS and because it's a part of the fire department in Lovelock, that doesn't necessarily apply to other ones. So I wouldn't let that be, it's something we should do, but I wouldn't let it be a distractor from getting this business plan together for them.
Yeah.
I wouldn't use that as a holdup to get this grant going under Lovelock's name.
Yeah, I wasn't suggesting that.
Yeah, and then the
But-
same with the PERS thing, right? Those are things that we can work on down the road, but I don't know that it's critical to this element of it.
And I'm not so sure, thinking in the gray area, that maybe since this committee has made recommendations, there's been some other, in my mind, potential for funding out there with the $6.7 billion that they're doing the roadshow and asking what's important, that doesn't enter into that conversation of what about us that are struggling to provide these services? Where does that come with health and human services and public safety?
Well, and we're not alone in that. The whole is a state problem too.
Well, I get that,
Yeah.
but if we're not talking about it,
Yeah, again, you just, at the risk of beating dead horse, I would just say, let's not forget to consider this as a systems thing and think about long-term sustainability, because safer grant, no matter what the parameters come out, this year or next year, or it is a limited time thing. It's a bridging strategy
Yeah.
to get you to a long-term solution. So I would say that, because I think the worst thing you could do is go get a grant, hire somebody for a year and then lay them off after the grant money runs out. That would be a deal breaker for ever getting anybody back in there.
So I would suggest sooner rather than later.
Mhm.
I've already started working on another one at the state fire marshal's office, getting all of the business plan and ducks in a row for what we're looking at doing statewide. So
what we need to do is set up a workshop, at least one to start, and we'll probably need to do more than one. Because it's a big job. I really appreciate the subcommittee's work and everybody that was involved with that.
And I thought I saw Neil's here.
He was, but I think he left.
Yeah. So, yeah, those guys that were a part of it.
Jonathan
Jonathan.
Reynolds
Yeah.
and Neil Gallagher and yourself, and then everybody else. I know there were a lot of people that gave input. So
how far out do we?
we need to do it soon, and if you're leaving in September 1st, we just need enough time. We could do something. I'm available next Wednesday. It's your schedule that. When are you
I have an
available?
election conference, the 25th, 26th, and 27th, and half my staff will be gone. So if we can rely on Justin doing the recording and no one from my office being here, then that's.
I have the 26th booked out for some installs. But otherwise I should be able to have that.
So on the 25th, we have a 10 o'clock debt management meeting that only lasts not less than an hour or about an hour. So there's the 25th, the 26th, the 27th. Well, I have a meeting, but I can miss that. But what is your schedule?
Since I'm leaving, I have appointments scheduled, but I have to take Bruce back to the doctor on the 25th.
So the 26th is out.
We can do. Wait a minute. No, I'm working the 30th because I have Navy on the 31st.
What about the 24th? We need enough days to post an agenda.
I'm not here the 24th.
Oh, okay, so that's out. Okay,
24th.
is out.
So what about Monday, Tuesday of the 30th or 31st?
I'm working on the 30th because I have an afternoon meeting with the Navy in Fallon.
So the
On
31st?
On the 31st, I have a 2 o'clock meeting in Fallon for the Navy expansion.
On the 30th or 31st?
On the 31st,
Okay.
and I moved those appointments to the 30th, so I'm working that day.
Oh, I was called for jury duty on the 30th and the 31st.
What about the first after in the afternoon?
Well,
Will
didn't
we
we do
have
the interviews?
The interview for the senior center. How long will this take? Because I am leaving that.
We might have 1 or 3 that will take an hour.
Yeah, take an hour.
But the workshop would take.
The workshop, an hour or 2 maybe.
Mhm.
If we do it,
if you did some pre-work to it with the chief and EMS coordinator to come up with some bones and then tighten them up probably.
well, I still have a lot of questions.
I know we need to talk about-
Mostly is how the county is going to pay for it. That's scary. We're adding more personnel. And we don't have the revenue. We have to find revenue somewhere. Because the safer grant is a matching,
At
Maybe.
this point,
we don't know.
We don't
we
know.
know that in the history of it, it's been a tiered match.
It's a tiered match, but after 3 or 4 years,
That's the
county's on the
sustainability
hook
piece.
for it.
But then on the last go around, there was no match. so.
But either way, I mean, even if you have a business plan development session and you get that in your mind what you want, then, I mean, how the, whether you even apply for the grant or even proceed with it or how it gets funded,
Right.
it might be something you can push.
Well,
down the road.
and the direction, what we're looking at going, yeah, it's
But
important.
I think having that business plan development, honestly, if you're spending more than an hour listening to Rod and Marty tell you what they want to get done, I just, I don't think that's productive. So I
Yeah.
would say, an hour or two at the outside, and you should be able to at least get things started and get a plan going.
Yeah, we need to know what we're gonna ask for before we decide how we're gonna pay for it.
That's right.
We need 5 gallons of money. We need to figure out if we need 3 here and 1 here.
And one meeting won't get it done. right?
No,
I mean,
that's why we need to
this
have
is a
some- we need to
kickoff
start this
event, and then-
conversation.
And then you're gonna need to, get regular.
Well, that's why I
reports
was hoping that we would have started it sooner than.
We need to have this conversation, but we also need to keep in mind that this county needs some revenue.
So during the workshop, one of the things that the board could discuss is maybe reallocating ad valorem tax revenues to pay for certain programs that the county offers, certain services, senior center, library, swimming pool. Those items can be paid for by an assessment, a special assessment. And then the money that's currently being used to fund those programs could be diverted into EMS. Just something that the board could
So
think
what-
around, consider.
What about
I
then?
think maybe a combination of some billing, some maybe
Right.
realignment, maybe some other funds that come in, and I hate to, put the burr under the saddle, as I mentioned to you guys. Maybe some of that marijuana money could be put to public safety, and we start filling that bucket with a little bit here, a little bit there, and we figure something out, because it's critical to have these services.
Ideally, the coordinator, the one employee that that this committee came up with that we really need to coordinate everything. Ideally, if the billing and everything would pay that salary, that would be great. So
So when are you returning from your,
I will be back.
the 13th or?
We were thinking about 2 o'clock that day.
You're right.
That's fine. On the first 2
Yeah.
o'clock, that's fine. And then I will be back September 14th for the commissioners meeting on the 15th.
So
That's a
September 1st
Tuesday.
at 2 PM, where will that be
Yes.
located here in the Chambers?
Yeah,
As long as I'm not still stuck on the jury.
Oh, my gosh. You better not be. They probably won't select me anyway. I'm very opinionated.
So 2 o'clock on the 1st, 1 o'clock interview, 2 o'clock workshop.
And then can we do it on the 16th in the morning, however long we need?
Justin will.
September.
I won't be here. I have. a
September
CFO
16th.
away,
Okay.
So I'll have 2 staff.
I won't be here.
Okay, what is the time or day that's good for you?
September 15th, 16th, and 17th, I have mandatory training.
Okay.
That's also CFO. so
Geez.
3 minutes.
Well, we could do it after our commissioner meeting on the 15th, but sometimes we have a Board of Health meeting then, and we could just reschedule that for whenever, because we don't know yet.
At the last meeting, the Board of Health voted to quarterly. meetings.
Yes, okay, thank you for reminding me. So then the 15th, we could do it in the afternoon. Would that work? Well, you're not
I
here.
won't be here.
Oh, that won't work. Never
The
mind.
20th,
I'm gonna say the next week looks better.
September 20th works. Is that a Monday?
The 20th is a Monday.
Yeah,
That works for me.
and
I
I've
have
got,
Monday on a Monday.
okay,
any day that next week works for us.
okay,
Because that's.
all right.
So let's do the 20th.
At what, 9 o'clock or what time? 8 o'clock?
9,
9 o'clock?
yes. 9 a.m.
And then we can take however long it needs to take. I have a couple other meetings, but they'll just have to go on without me.
Okay, so we have a couple dates set up for workshop.
Did you want me to talk about emergency management stuff?
Sure.
So we held the active shooter exercise on last Friday, August 13th, and it was an outstanding event. So kudos to Sheriff Allen, who is in the back, and to Dan Murphy from the school district, and to Dave Skelton, who ran the comm section of it, and to the fire department and EMS. It was actually it was one of the best exercises I've ever seen. They really hit it out of the park. So I'll be working on the after action report for that. There's always things we learned from those, but fundamentally it was a very well structured and very well organized and run event. And and the sheriff and Rod and Marty and all those folks get a ton of credit for that. So they did a good job. We do have one more exercise scheduled for this year. The date is yet to be determined this fall for a hazmat exercise to meet our annual requirements for CERT. We were kind of waiting to see what the weather did. I should have known there'd be a precipitous drop in temperature,
Yeah.
but we didn't want to do it when it was 100 degrees. So we'll be scheduling that. On the grant side of things, grants are going along pretty well. So we received this year the United We Stand grant, the OPTI grant. Those are both from CERC. The two kind of outstanding grants for emergency management stuff is the EMPG grant and the EMPG supplemental. So we're having a hard time getting them to pay us. And we've submitted the paperwork, so it's kind of over in their court, but I'm not sure. This is the grant that always is like for the year in arrears. They don't end up issuing the grant until after it's, the period of execution is already well done. So there's just some structural disorganization issues there, but I'm sure we'll get it eventually. And then the COVID grant that paid out its first installment for the last fiscal year, and we're looking forward to the next fiscal year to get some of those funds out as well. Upcoming events, Burning Man is it's not Burning Man officially,
Yes.
It's whatever
Renegade Man
or something. That's still an issue that's out there, that just everybody should be aware that is something that's going to happen in Pershing County, whether we are prepared for it or not. And again, I think the sheriff will probably speak to that a little bit, but there is some concern at the state level about things like waste management. There's no porta potties, there's no plan for managing gray water, and medical services and fire suppression and those kinds of things. That's, basically there's no real plan for how to deal with that like you have in an organized event.
So there is a cadre of EMS people that are going out there on a volunteer basis that are scheduled, which is kind of,
Who's doing that?
it's through the Renegade Man group. I know a few of them, EMT ambulance people that are going out there for like the 2nd through the 6th. I got a call from one yesterday, so.
That'll be, I'm sure this,
Kind of muddy
It's gonna be interesting.
We have another meeting. Yeah, we have another phone conference tomorrow on that, so then hopefully we'll get some more details. That was, I think, on Miller last week, so.
Yeah.
And then we do have the Board of Health later this afternoon. I know Dr. Van Gilder is concerned, about COVID growth in general. There's talk of a third round of vaccines, a booster shot for people who've had the 2 dose. We're still thinking about the 1 dose. And she's also concerned about what, impacts that Burning Man event gathering will have on COVID growth. So, yeah. And that's all I have to report, sir. Any
Thank you.
questions?
Grass Valley.
Grass Valley, yes, it's there. It's very smoky. And, there is an advisory board meeting on Monday, August 30th, and Ira and Alexis Hansen, our state senator and state assemblywoman, will be there. So we've advertised for that. We have an ad in the newspaper, Facebook, and all that other stuff. So we're looking forward to that opportunity, and thanks to Carol and John for facilitating that.
So now we've talked about the commissioner to attend the August meeting and September meeting. I'm lined up to do August
Mhm.
And we talked about changing that to September. I can't do September,
Okay, you can stay with August. That's
so
fine.
I'll stay with August. So I'll be out.
Great. Yeah, and just so you know, so we've encouraged everybody, even we've asked people in Humboldt County, told them, hey, it's okay if you want to come out to your assemblyman. It's a Pershing County event, but certainly that's still within in their jurisdiction. So we're welcoming everyone that wants to come to that. So even people from here, if you are interested in come out to Grass Valley to see your state folks, that's great.
Good job. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
Very much.
Before we move on, we've already gone past Lovelock Fire and Ambulance. Do you have since you're here, do you have a report?
Since I didn't hear what was going on, I think you guys probably covered most of that. We are testing for firefighter one on October 18th. We have been working, we are in contact with the billing company for the ambulance service, and we were talking to them. We should be talking to them some more today. I did pick up some stuff from Marine yesterday, and 120 days out is $450,000 of billing going on. Now, that is just a gross figure.
That's the total amount that's out.
Yeah.
That's not for, the majority is 121 days.
Yeah, so and that's a gross figure, so like for Medicare and Medicaid and that, you only get a portion of that billing, so that's the gross part of it.
Yeah, the accounts
That doesn't mean you're
receivable
gonna get that much.
from last year at this time to now has grown over $200,000.
So,
And I get those annual reports only because we have to make an accounts receivable entry for the auditors.
so they haven't received that, so we did call them yesterday and we're working on that, so just so you know,
Okay.
I guess they're gonna meet again next month, but I wasn't here for the part that just talked about. So I think that's about really all I have today.
Okay, thank you.
So billing's out there, a lot of money, but it doesn't mean you're gonna get all that money.
So we have no Emily or Right Patch. Next item on the agenda is number F, which is Safety Department. We did have a
written report.
written report from Cheryl.
Mhm. And I'll send it to you. She says that the health clinic is in full swing, that they, as of today, now it's always subject to change with the state. They're offering a third dose to those who have had the other two, but you have to have an immune compromising condition, which would be, if you're getting chemotherapy, if you're an organ, transplant recipient, you have an autoimmune deficiency or something like that. So there's certain rules. And in the safety department, we have had 2 safety meetings and they went very well. 2 of our buildings were assessed by Pool Pack, the admin building, and I think that the courthouse was the other one. The cemetery buildings and grounds is doing a great job with the weeds. Also, we would like to thank Katie North and Chastity Arnett and their youth group for helping to clean the fence lines. And she's still working on inputting data into the new software. And that's about it. And I'll let her know to send it to you too, but I'll send you what we've got.
Okay, the next thing up is the IT department. Before you, John, were you here for the discussion on the properties? Were you here for a discussion of, which is item number 13, which was on the lien on the properties? I'm just checking to see if that's why you're here. Okay.
Okay. We're very, very busy managing several. I'm managing several projects all at the same time.
phones, internet. We're still working on getting our network upgrades completed. The pandemic slowed that project down significantly. I've received the final report from the CISA on our network security assessment for the admin building network and our email security. So I will have a summary for you as soon as possible, the results of that. We have had a few departments reach out to me about cybersecurity training. So I have gotten those departments set up with the training they requested. For any other department heads that might be listening in, and I'll try and spread the word a little bit other ways too. So far, every department head has requested the 145-minute cybersecurity course that covers a lot. It's the course that Lacey's staff is required by the Secretary of State to take. So far, no one has requested anything but that. If that helps any department heads make their decisions easier. And I know there's a lot of stuff I'm forgetting. I met with one of the Washoe County District Attorneys about in the possibilities of implementing an e-warrant system. It was a really great discussion. I can see absolutely why it would be helpful. So it's mainly just figuring out there. Unfortunately, we don't have a way of doing it ourselves that will not incur some cost. But I'm looking at figuring out what would be the best way to go to do something like that, and hopefully we'll be able to push on the state some to maybe get something going for the whole state instead of the counties piecemealing something together.
And I talked a little bit with Commissioner Rackley about that, and what Jess is referring to is the Nevada Traffic Safety Control Officer. His name is Shannon Bryant. He's also a Deputy District Attorney for Washoe County. He has come up with a really good electronic warrant process that as Nevada's Traffic Safety Resource Control Officer, he has a lot of different resources and contacts with other states, obviously, and other people in the same position that he has. So, excuse me, good grief. He was talking to a NHP officer who recently applied for a warrant in Pershing County, and this trooper was way out in the middle of nowhere, and then he had to go through the warrant process. He detained this individual for a DUI, and then he had to bring the individual into jail, drop that person off, come get the warrant, and then go get his blood draw. The process took about 2 hours, which I think is a big waste of resources and very, very time consuming, and subjects these officers and troopers to probably some safety risks that they shouldn't be subjected to. And so Shannon reached out to me and asked me if I'd be interested in it. We sat down, we went through the preview. I referred him to Justin so that he could get it set up with Justin. And I think the cost would be minimal to the county. No, this is just a preview. Okay, we're just kind of pumping or priming the well before we present it to the commission, but it's a very, very good program. And I think it would reduce the time that our troopers and our sheriff's deputies have to go through to get warrants and save them a lot of time.
Yep.
So I'm all for it.
Yep. If the I think it would. They previewed another state's system, or Shannon previewed another state system. If we could get there, that would be the ideal situation. But it's definitely an area in which technology might actually help with efficiency. Would help. with
And we
efficiency.
don't have any idea of the cost.
Not yet. We're just starting out down this road.
Okay.
Probably just a software license to operate it.
Yeah.
So we'll cross that bridge. when we come to it.
Well, and the system that they use could be a system that we could apply over the whole county, not just for this one thing, but basically a electronic document handling system
Oh, okay, great.
for, filling and submitting
Mhm.
applications
To make
across
every-
all departments,
to
not
make
just
everybody-
law enforcement, yeah.
That would be good.
So like employment applications,
Mhm.
building permit applications, digitally filled out, digitally signed, digitally put into a workflow. for
And then,
approval.
yeah, and they actually go to the department they need to go to.
Right.
And they get, I'm aware of different formats like that.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's something that's potentially coming down the road. And yeah, it just the sooner we can address, getting an actual IT department with more than just me and facilities, the better, because the workload is untenable for one person. It just the county is a complex machine, and it takes more than one person to care for all these needs. I know, and I apologize to all the departments. I know I'm dropping the ball on several
You
things.
can only do so much.
I can only do so much.
And that makes it stressful for you too.
Absolutely. So whatever help you can send my way, please.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's something else. We need to sit down and talk about positions and salaries and a lot of different things too, but that's something that we need a workshop and some goal setting as well. But I realize the EMS is the first thing that you want to get done.
So that's a good segue for my report into the items on the agenda.
So the next item on the agenda is approval of Office 365 renewal with license and account changes to, to total $17,923.75.
So what this is with our Office 365 software, we have two licenses. One license is just for email and the online tools. And that's mainly dedicated towards field personnel who don't spend much, if any, of their time behind the desk. But so we can still get them emails, so they can still get safety training, they can get communications from payroll, human resources, all of that. When we first started this, we had one set of needs, and we've actually been on this year and a half, 2 years now. And our needs have changed. We've had a lot more of those who would have been on just the online license have their tasks expand where they need the desktop versions of Office as well. And that's what our other license is. It includes the online tools plus the desktop tools. So to support that, for this renewal cycle, I've made adjustments to our license count. I've taken away some of those online only licenses and put them into the online plus desktop bucket, plus a few extras for coverage. So as we add more employees or might need to make adjustments to licenses, we have a little bit of breathing room. I've talked to Reen already. There is funding in the monies in the ad valorem fund for this that we normally draw these renewals from.
So are you ready for a motion?
So that 17,923, that's in your budget already?
It's a little more than what we had budgeted
It's
for,
like
but
3,000. Yeah,
yeah, I cleared this with Reen before we talked about it.
that's good. I like clearing things with Reen.
So I'll make a motion to approve the renewal Office 360 in the amount of 17,923.75.
No second.
A motion and a second for approval. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Motion passed. So then we have approval of either time and materials quote or fixed cost quote for assistance with J4 systems to assist in reconfiguring firewalls and networking in support of new wide area network and internet deployment for a cost not to exceed $14,100.
So with this item, I would actually ask that we postpone this to the September 1st meeting. I've had some conversations with both J4 and with Danny Bax that might require me going and asking J4 to reassess their proposal.
Okay.
This is definitely work that we have to get done. We're rebuilding completely how the four core facilities connect to each other. And I would either need to, I need to bring someone in to help me with that. There's a lot of work to make that happen. But yeah, so if we just hold off on this one until the 1st.
Okay. So we have approval for the Pershing County IT policy.
So the one that was provided to you is a very, very rough draft.
The one that we just received.
Yes. There hasn't really been a lot of discussion on it besides me going to there and say, here's my draft. So this might be a part of a workshop that Carol was talking about, where we set up some planning and some goals where we can dig a little deeper into this. Some of the policy is directed at the IT department specifically. Some of it is towards all employees. So it's if we need more time to talk it over, there are some parts in there that require other decisions. Like there's a part in there about a technology assistance program as an employee benefit that we can talk about. There's bring your own device things that we need to talk about. So this one is definitely not ready to be approved right now, but we want to get it in front of you and get the ball rolling.
But that's something that we need to put in a workshop to go over, I think.
I think it's
when we do goal setting and some other things.
I think we need more time than would be fair to all the people waiting behind me at a regular meeting.
The history on this, is this the first and only policy for the IT department?
There's a minimal IT policy included as part of our personnel policies.
Which is just several pages. It's not as big as that.
It's what, 3.5 pages? Yeah, and basically just covers acceptable and prohibited uses. This covers a lot of things to standardize our how we use technology. This is a standard thing that everybody else has. All the counties around us would have a dedicated IT policy. We just never had somebody to draft it before.
So, and yes, parts of this could be changed to fit Pershing County better. This brought back a lot of memories from the school boards. So It's like, I was just wondering if this was the first policy. And
Yes.
pretty much it is, okay.
Pretty much,
Yeah.
yeah. It covers a lot of things that are not.
So you need to work on that a little bit more.
Well, I would like feedback on the draft.
So, yeah.
And then a chance, then an opportunity to discuss, some specifics like I had already mentioned.
And I think that's why we have a workshop at some point where we're sitting down and
Yeah.
discussing it, all of us,
Yeah.
and giving our input.
When we do we can plan for just
So
a
what?
half a day on stuff that we really need to talk about in workshops, like the IT and everything else that we never really cover in meetings that we need to cover.
Yeah, on the 20th, we could do a lot, and it might be a whole day, actually.
Yeah, the 20th doesn't work. So we will, if you would look at that and see if you can adjust us some, and then at a future meeting here, we'll set a workshop.
Yeah, if whatever adjustments you think I need to make, if you could provide those to me. Because from my seat, I could make all these decisions and it would be exactly the way I want it. But that probably isn't in everybody's best interest. So if I could get feedback on it, that would be incredibly helpful.
Okay. So another one on there is approval of the job description for an information technology manager and revised job description for information technology IT technician.
Yep, so this is doing some more prep work for expanding IT department. I sent those to Karen and she let me know that she made some adjustments, and once they're approved, she'll rework them into the format we typically keep them in.
Okay, no, I think it's good that we're planning ahead. I'll make a motion that we approve both of those job descriptions.
I will second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passed.
Good job, a lot of work. Thank you.
Yeah.
So much work,
I know.
so much.
Can we clone you? No.
Didn't you ever seen that movie Multiplicity?
Yes, I did, and that was a disaster. Oh, my gosh. I did, that was funny.
That's probably the best case scenario.
When do you want the input by?
The sooner the better. I am completely booked solid the next couple of weeks, so I won't be even touching the policy again until
After September.
after
1st?
September 1st.
Great.
So
I read
when-
parts
when
of
you get
this
back-
last night, but on the plane, my 5-hour flight.
There you go. Have fun.
Economic development. And then I'm gonna move some stuff around because I know what you're here for. So we'll do this one next and we'll go to on. Good morning.
There is a Western Nevada Development District retreat being planned, I think, for October, so I'll be attending that. I am hoping it's just a one-day event. That was what I voted for. I don't really want to go for more than one day. But I think that would be a good thing. There's a lot of new members on the Western Nevada Development Board and be a good networking opportunity as well. West Coast Santa Nevada will be, Ralph Run, the project manager, will be here for 2 weeks in September. I do plan on having him come see you for an agenda item on the 15th of September. Just a quick update. There probably won't be a slideshow or anything. It'll probably take between 5 and 15 minutes to give you an update
Good.
as to where he's at. But I'm looking forward to him being here for 2 weeks. Jan and I are going to be spending a lot of time with him those 2 weeks. The notice for funding opportunity for the broadband, the brownfield grant should come out in October. That grant will be due in December. It's a 60-day window. Once that's done, we will be, I guess as I get closer, I mean, I definitely will get this on the agenda for you guys to approve and so forth. But again, we are looking at doing that in partnership with Humboldt and Winnemucca this time around, and WNDD again. And then the US 95 I-80 Economic Futures is going to occur on October 28th. That will be at the Boys and Girls Club in the morning from about 8 to 12:30. And it is a regional event. In the past, it has been more of a, it used to be called Winnemucca Futures. It was the Humboldt County, Winnemucca, where are we, the economic forecast, where have we been, where are we going? This is taking more of a regional flair. Winnemucca has actually used some of our businesses for their past ones, so it's about time to change the name and do a little bit of new rebranding and so forth. Justin and I continue to work on broadband, and then we had the other thing is that Treasurer Conine was here last week, and all of you commissioners were there. Thank you. Here is that information. I haven't yet. I will probably next week send this out to all of the county employees so that they can take the survey as to how that $6.8 billion for the state of Nevada should be spent. I think that's it. Thank you.
So what about the funding?
Funding for what?
Well, we put it on here for 100,000.
Oh, $110,000?
Yes.
That is
Just,
for
it's
the-
just a small number.
No, that's for the Nevada 9580 Regional Development.
Right.
So that is split between Pershing and Humboldt, Pershing, Lovelock, Humboldt, Winnemucca. So that comes to $55,000 a year. That is money from GoEd, the group that put us together. So Shayla was on that, Mayor, Mike, Ted, myself from Pershing County. And then Kent Maher was representing actually kind of both of us because he's the city attorney for both of us areas. So we haven't come up with a budget yet, what we're spending the money on yet, and so forth. This is, we need to sign that contract and get it back to the Governor's Office of Economic Development and just start to formalize that. So the money's not in yet, and it comes in quarterly chunks. And it's similar to when we had the Highway 95 Regional Development Authority. So in the past, we used to use that for small projects in the community or that economic development was doing. And then a lot of that would go to supplement salary. I don't know. I'm not sure how we're going to budget for that yet.
So if you're ready, you looked over the agreement, Bryce?
Yes.
Everything's okay? So I'll make a motion that we go ahead and approve the agreement with the Governor's Office, GoEd, for the funding of the Nevada 9580 Regional Development Authority, and also that we designate the Humboldt County and Pershing County Economic Development Officers as the individuals with authority to bind our DDA.
I will second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion.
Thank you. And just so you have an FYI about the Nevada 9580 RDA, Jan Morrison is acting as director this year, and I am deputy director. Next year it'll swap.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
things I put in, we have, since we've been formed, we've had 3 requests for informations for potential businesses in the state. So we've submitted 3 answers already this year.
That's awesome.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to move up to item 12. Sheriff Allen, do you, under your part, are you okay for a while, or you want to come up? You can wait. Okay. So under item 12, COVID update, I mean, we've talked about this quite a bit. We have our dream sheet, our numbers. I guess you can call it our dream sheet.
I have a little bit of an update.
Yes.
I got an email this morning that our paper report was approved. And
Oh,
we're
good.
getting 653, 126, within the next, it says the timeline is subject to our rate, so.
So half of it in the next, how long?
A few days, I would assume.
Okay. So
Thank you for doing all that.
that's a
Lisa, very
start,
much.
right? So, and we've talked about this in the past, because, and thankfully Rusty's here, we've talked about under this funding item, funding at a water main installation for the airport. What's really getting us here is the cost of pipe. Come on up, Rusty. Just in the last 2 months, we've experienced a drastic change in cost of pipe. And actually Rusty can talk about that some more. Anything new other than,
It's expensive.
September 1, it will go up again.
yeah.
And then what? Is it ever going to come down?
The suppliers believe that it is going to.
Yeah.
And Larry and I, when we talked about this, if there's a way to sit on your money for just a little
Mhm.
bit, I would probably do that. If there's a deadline to spend your money.
We have years to spend it, so
Yeah.
there's no urgency.
And I'd be really careful about that right now.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody else is buying pipe but we developers.
So we can keep on top of pipe cost. But so what I'm looking for though is approval to purchase pipe when the time is right. When the prices are there. So we don't have to wait and wait for approval to do it.
So when we attended the meeting with the state treasurer, he indicated that there are, that the state has funding and we could put this in as one of our requests to the state. You know, and it's possible that it could be approved through that as well.
And there's a couple more things in that pot of money. One is, and there's 2 more things on this list. One of which is a fire truck for Grass Valley and the other one's an ambulance. And from what he was saying, we should be doing applications for those 2 now. And we have the process. At least to get our name in the hat for that funding.
For the state funding?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think we need to put everything in there
Everything in there.
and anything else that we can think
And
of.
say what we are getting from feds and see what we can get.
Yeah.
With this other infrastructure bill that was just passed.
And then
And that's great.
as far as the airport, we haven't had the water system there. I mean, it's something we've wanted for years, so it's not something that we have to jump on right away. We could wait and look at it then. And not even, you know, just see where the state would come in on this first.
I think right now you're gonna see a little bit of time delay from the Bureau of Safe Drinking Water. The airport project presents a few problems along with solving it. Either way, LMWD comes out better, but I just hate wasting money if you don't have to.
Yeah.
Let's see what the full project's gonna look like and come back with some hard figures.
So you don't think we should be into the next part of that, into an agreement with Far West to start that process?
Although I would.
You
definitely
do
get
believe
the
because of the
project
time
designed.
frame.
Oh, yeah, I would definitely get that going.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that.
At least that part and not purchasing the pipe just yet.
Or starting the
Moving
project.
Forward on that, yeah.
So-
At least at the engineering part of it, I'm okay with.
How much is the engineering part?
37,500.
Wow.
So I'd like a motion for that.
I'll make the motion to approve the Far West Engineering application plan survey in the amount of $37,500.
With that funding coming from the,
American
The
Rescue
American
Plan.
Rescue Plan.
Okay, and I'll second that.
the motion in a second.
Yes.
All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye, motion passed. So I will contact Far West Engineering to get that started. And we'll monitor, keep monitoring pipe cost.
And I'll do you a favor, I'll keep an eye on Far West for you.
Would you
Okay.
please?
Good idea, good idea.
Thanks, Rusty, very much.
See ya.
So do we want to talk more about this list? Or
Well, I
you want to
think-
just wait?
I think that we need to, anything that we have, we all need to fill it in for the state and submit it, plus other things as well.
I would like to see the state pay for our brush truck and our
The
ambulance.
state,
Out of this, I'd like to get the funding out of the
Mhm.
state for our brush trucks. and
That'd be great.
Public safety.
Yeah.
the other thing he said at that meeting was when we talked, I talked a little bit about the Right Patch Fire, expansion,
Yes.
which got cut because of COVID. And basically, he said that's an ideal project for that funding. So, and I mean,
Along with our bridges and.
I think we should submit everything.
well, this is more important than NDOT bridge. But at any rate, he said, apply for it. Good.
Mhm.
So discuss this later, at later date. Any more discussion on it?
No, I'm just gonna make up a list of all the other things I can think of too that I want the state to pay for. Doesn't hurt to ask.
Okay, elected departments, Lacey Donaldson.
The office is really busy with first installment taxes. My new hire is doing really well and seems to be catching on good, so that's
That's great.
encouraging. I do have some corrections. I forgot to make copies this morning, so if you guys want to just look through them, and then there's a place, Lori printed a different sheet, so there's a place for the chair to sign. So the first group were exempt parcels, but Lori found they weren't supposed to be, so those are brand new bills. And then the second group were, like a shed was removed, and then on the other one, she added TV and landfill assessments that had somehow came off.
Oh, so these are actually increases.
Yes.
Yeah, that's,
So that's
That's
property
good.
that belongs to the
We like
church, but
increase.
doesn't fall under the exception.
so I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve the corrections and changes to the tax roll. Is there a place for us to sign or?
There's a spot that just says chair.
Okay.
But that first group, you guys could just sign the front page. I think those might, do they have that too?
Yeah, here's-
Am I seconding that motion?
Yes, please.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passed.
Thank you, Sheila.
You're welcome.
And I told you guys earlier that there's an election conference in the Secretary of State. That's there. I guess I can add Wednesday afternoon or Friday.
Okay, great.
All right.
Green Child.
The only thing I have is.
Did you
the
want us to
IPA
sign?
meeting Auditor was here 2 days last week, so the audit is underway.
Yeah.
And they'll be back for the full week of September
September 7th.
20th.
Oh, 27th.
That's it.
That's it. Assessor's office, are they on Zoom? No. Bryce Shields.
I don't have anything except that Commissioner Rackley, if you could, after this meeting, if you could go to my office to sign an easement grant for the BLM.
Oh, yeah, okay.
It's up there, and then one of my staff could notarize your signature.
Okay. We can do that.
Okay, thanks.
Judge Stevens. The sheriff, Jerry Allen.
Thanks, I don't have much. We're currently at 50% capacity in the jail, with 13. We just checked in 2 inmates this morning. My 3 cadets in the academy, we're still doing well.
Good.
Have not been among the many that have been injured so far.
Oh, they had some injured
In the
in
ones that they've been, yes. I have 3 open positions for deputies with no applicants for those positions. We have 5 applicants. Some are combined for office and dispatch. They didn't have a preference of either one. And then we have some that just want to do dispatch, one that wants to just do the office. So hopefully we'll be doing interviews here in the next couple weeks. As Sean said, we did the active shooter drill. The saving thing for us, I believe, was that we had 2 deputies that were called for court that day, and the active shooter drill went off about 15 minutes after they were done with court. So we actually had more response than what we would have. So I think that's one of the things that made it go a little bit better for us. But I think it went really well. Good community participation from the fire department. HGH landed their chopper at the elementary school. We were able to keep traffic flowing on Western Avenue. We didn't disrupt the normal operations of the people here in our community. So, and still managed to get the drill taken care of. So Sean was really good at setting that up. And Sergeant Rogers, Sergeant Carmichael, who set up the activity for my office, did a good job on that. And then, of course, we have the non-festival or renegade man that's going to happen.
Good way to put it, the non-fest.
Yes. So there are still going to be numerous people out there. How many? Who knows? It's public land, so the public's going to be there. We've had meetings with BLM. Apparently, there has been a meeting with a medical provider. Could be REMSA, could be HGH. They may have a contingency of people out there. How that's going to come out, I'm not aware of how that's going to happen. So I believe BLM is going to have some civilian operations folks for the gray water issues, at least for the management side. On the state side, I don't know any of those things from the state. So we will have a contingency of deputies out there working with BLM, working with our staff to provide some semblance of law enforcement out there. So. But on the flip side, there's still going to be Burning Man personnel, Burning Man organization personnel out there as well. They've already told us they're going to be out there. In what capacity, that has yet to be vetted out. They would like to provide assistance, but it's not going to be formalized assistance, so I'm not sure that that's going to do us any benefit, but there will be quite a few people out there, I'm quite sure of that.
So BLM doesn't have authorization, do they, that if there's a large number of people like that for an event, even though it's not organized, that they require that it be organized?
As far as I'm aware, they do have something similar to what the state has, is that if there's over so many people in a confined area, they're supposed to apply for that, what the regulations are.
Because we can't even, we could apply our festival ordinance to it if there was an organized
Yeah, there's
group.
no organization.
But, this could just keep growing and they could just simply say, well, we're not organized.
Yeah, it's an unorganized organization.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. And for BLM, that's bad too.
Yeah. I mean, somebody's organizing it because there is a media campaign out there. Burning Man's put it on their website. I mean, there is some organization to it. However, it's not formalized, and Burning Man has already said back in April or May that they are not going to have the official festival. So they've already backed out from any responsibility for that, even though they're gonna have quite a few of their own staff members out there doing training and those other things.
So is it look, I mean, it's the last week of August, do you think?
Yes, it all culminates Labor Day weekend. So
Same as-
last,
yeah.
it'll be the 23rd. We'll have people out there from the 23rd to the 9th, I believe.
Yeah.
In some semblance of fashion.
Starting Monday. Whoa.
So official or not, it's still, impacting the county.
Yeah.
So
How many do you expect out there?
my estimation would be probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 20,000. When you look at how many were out there last year, coupled with, the restrictions being lifted from COVID, people being, confined to their houses and stuff, and now people want to get out. Couple that with the fact that people still went out last year when they didn't have a festival. And now people know that they can go out there and not have to pay the exorbitant amounts to the Burning Man organization to house it.
Or pay anything to BLM or
Right.
to us as well.
Right. So, and it is public land. I mean, the public should be out there using that land. It creates a hardship for us because we don't have a radio system out there. We don't have infrastructure. We don't have the things we need to respond in a timely manner, provide the level of service we do other parts of the county. But there are other parts of the county that have the same level of service because there's not normally people out there. So.
Correct.
How are you coming with your new app? Is it WebSense? Is that what it's called?
The sheriff app,
Yes.
Apple and I don't get along. I've not been a fan of Apple for
A long
probably
time.
30 years or plus now. And so for the last 3 weeks, it's been almost a daily thing. They call randomly when I'm usually either in court or on the field on a call with no callback number. The only way I get a hold of them is email, and then they take 48 to 72 hours to get back to you. And when they call again, I'm usually busy. So trying to rectify that with Google. The Google portion of it's done. It's the Apple part of it that is causing the hang up.
So I wanted to ask you about AlertSense.
Mhm.
One of the issues that we're having with AlertSense is that we don't have every single county employee in the database, for lack of a better word, with their phone number, so that if we did have, let's say, a real active shooter, then AlertSense would send, you would authorize a message to go out
Right.
saying that this is the issue. And that's just an example, but the sheriff could actually get a notice out to everybody, lock your doors, do whatever, anything like that.
Right.
So my question is, we still need AlertSense?
I believe it's a better system than, I don't want to say it's a better system. So apparently the state has gone to Code Red. I know absolutely nothing about Code Red. Our input, as far as I know, was not asked for doing that. AlertSense, we have people that are trained on that and know how to use it, and we know the functionality. So for us, it works better. To get everybody on that system would require everybody to submit their phone number and their carrier. Because what has to happen is in the system, we have to convert their cell phone number to an email address so that it can convert that to the text to send it out. Now, I understand there are people in the county that are hesitant because it's their personal phone and they don't want to release that information. So, but in order to do what you want, that's the information we
A
need.
Google form or something Justin could do to send to employees, I think.
We can do a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet would be fine.
Hesitancy with like giving the information to Dave Skelton, but I think if it was more like an official thing, then people would be more willing.
Yeah, we can do
Well,
an
that's
Excel spreadsheet.
that's why I'm bringing
Google Doc,
this up,
whatever.
because actually Karen's an administrator. I don't know why I am, but I am. And I believe you are, or whatever. I don't have a clue how to do it.
Right.
But we could put that information in if the employees were willing to share it. And then if they're not
I
willing,
think
which,
it- more official requests coming from the board. I think they would be less hesitant
Yeah.
to give that information.
and
I
so,
think before it was just like Dave Skelton was asking.
right, right.
I
And-
could put together a digital form to send out to employees, stuff like that.
Okay, and then also you can register yourself, or you used to be able to. That's how I did it.
Yes, you
Still
can.
can. There's a link on the county website. I don't remember where it is.
No,
It's in the main menu somewhere.
Mhm.
It used to be on the front page at all times. We can self-register. Yeah, there's many roads need to know.
So could you go ahead and get something out to the employees or? And I understand those that don't want to share, that's perfectly okay, but the more people we have on this, the safer it's going to be for all the departments. And as somebody says, it's not if something's going to happen, it's when,
Right.
unfortunately.
And many of the landlines in the county are on that as well. The
Mhm.
problem being not every county entity has a rollover number. So when you call some of the, especially in the PCAP, if you call some of their numbers, it just gives you a busy signal instead of rolling over to an open number. So if the message goes out, it will send it also to those landlines, but if that line is busy, nobody will ever get the message on that landline. So
I think my
that's
office
another,
number is in there, but I don't know if we got the calls right there.
right, and if somebody was using it,
Yeah,
you wouldn't have
then we
gotten it.
got it.
Yeah, and you're an administrator, as the whole board should be an administrator, because under the statute, the board can declare a state of emergency and that information can be pushed out. So all the members of the board should be administrators
Yeah.
to push that in.
Well, and I didn't even realize that until this came up. Yeah, see, and you need to get a notification.
And if
so.
we need more training for those, we can get the company is more than willing to do like either a webinar or come down and they've come down and done a couple of
Yeah,
trainings.
but Karen, could you work with Justin so that we can try to get as many employees in alert sense, either for them to do it themselves or somehow get it to us?
We'll have to, request to Sean to change every email that was on there because it's still Pershing County.
Right.
And he sent it to Mr. Skelton, who was not willing to change it. He said it would take too much time.
I think
But
I think if we got a document though from Justin and we were able to do that, I think we could get a hold of Alert Sense. And I think they could do it in the background much faster. Because yes, it would, for one person to sit there and change all of those, yeah, you'd have to touch each person's account. But I think then in the background, Alert Sense may be able to do that, and I can get a hold of them and find out.
They could
Okay,
do a
that would
bunch
be
of
awesome.
one push of a
Yeah,
button.
just do a program that says change all of these to this.
And then we have a lot of new people that
Yeah.
wouldn't be in there
Yes.
as well.
I just need to know how they need the information provided.
Okay, I will find out.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I had one other question. So the emergency command post that we were supposed to build last year,
Mhm.
do we still have funding set aside for that? So that project is. Okay.
We don't.
Okay.
So did Sierra Electronics never get their
We
part done?
attempted to order stuff, but it was gonna be out past what we thought was going to be the grant date. So we have not, we were still in the planning phase of that, but we have not
So
ordered any.
There's two things. The trailer, did they finish that?
No.
And they didn't finish the community center either, the actual
So
physical?
their portion of the community center is done, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
but
All I
is
need
the
to do is
trailer-
provide one more, or two more radios, which I believe we have in our search and rescue trailer. They've already wired them, pre-terminated the cables. They have 3 antennas on the roof.
So you're okay with the trailer then, other than that, or?
Well, the trailer, I mean, basically, we could use it as a trailer, but that it's not an emergency.
So we need to
operations.
know what else you need and about how much it costs. And then the physical location at the community center, if there's any additional work or funding for that, we need to know what that is too.
Okay. Yeah,
So
I don't
we can
believe
look
they're-
at it.
I believe I can look at their rate.
Yeah, but if there is something,
Okay.
so,
All right,
I'm sorry.
I will find out from Sierra Electronics what the
I think my
chances are.
question
for
is
that
already
trailer.
answered. They did get the antenna, correct?
Yeah, they've got 3 antennas up there, yes. And one of the radios already works.
Okay.
Our local repeated radio works.
Yeah, we need to know how much more you
So-
need for that so that we can get things going.
Okay.
Because one of the things is that we were going to use that as an alternate dispatch center.
Yes.
If something happened in the jail.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Board appointments.
I do have 2 letters that I forgot to send to Karen. So I don't know if you want to know what they are now or.
So who?
I have a letter from Wendy Nelson, interested in museum board,
Okay.
and a letter from Susan Bendor for the senior center.
And Susie was sent the letter back
To
when,
Randy.
and she didn't remember seeing it, so.
So I'll make a motion to approve Wendy Nelson on the museum board and Susie Bender for the senior center advisory board.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passed. Derby Field Airport, other than to report that they are out there doing their preliminary work for the taxiway project. I think I already talked about this. They have been out there doing surveying. They've been out there doing core drilling to see how far they're actually gonna have to excavate. Funny, I was out there Saturday, drove where they drove, and I finally decided that I was by myself and I wasn't going any further because that's really soft ground. So I turned around with that. We had an airport advisory meeting last night. There's an issue with a light out there, and Armstrong is working on that, and they'll let me know. Our issue, Saturday, I was out there, I replaced the parts in that gate opener again with the new bigger, better, best upgraded module, 2 modules. I replaced both of those. Gate worked fine under many tries. And yesterday I had a call and it stuck open again. So they are aware of that, they being the fence people and the gate people. And there's another fix for it, so we'll see what happens. So now, number 9, we have a first reading of an ordinance amending ordinance number 349 relating to landfill assessment to make it effective July 1st, 2020, rather than July of 2021.
Is there the ordinance number?
350.
I had 349. and I
That
was
was the
thinking,
original.
Right.
It's 350.
Yeah.
We haven't done anything since that one.
So I'll introduce the first reading of this ordinance number 350, changing the date of the effective landfill assessment.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
You don't
Aye.
need a second.
Motion passed.
I think so, but
Yeah, you're
might
okay.
as well.
What the heck? It's the one thing. It gets confusing.
That's not.
Is that one then? This is the open one.
Yeah. Okay, so moving along to item number 10, which is approval of amended agreement between the state of Nevada and local governments to allocate potential settlement funds derived from litigation concerning the opioid epidemic in Nevada and the unlawful manufacture, marketing, promotion, distribution, and dispensing of prescription opioids.
So we had previously talked about this, and essentially what this entails is that the state of Nevada and several of its political subdivisions sued numerous pharmaceutical companies and distributors and doctors of opioids concerning the opioid epidemic. The state of Nevada has negotiated with many of those civil defendants for a settlement. The settlement amount has not been named, but essentially this agreement, under the terms of this agreement, whatever settlement funds are received as a product of those negotiations, they're going to be divided up. And 37% of those settlement funds go to local governments. And Pershing County, out of that 37%, it's entitled to 0.51%.
0.51%.
Of 37%.
Okay.
Which actually, you know, if you're
Better
talking
than
about
nothing.
$100 million, that's better than a poke in the
Yeah.
eye. So one of the things that we're agreeing to under this agreement, the primary item that we're agreeing to is that we're going to report no later than July 1st of each year to the Attorney General's office how we're allocating those funds, assuming that we receive any at all.
Assuming, and we just hope we do receive.
And this had previously been approved by the board, and then after it was approved, it was amended And that amendment has nothing substantive that affects the county.
I need a motion for approval of the
Move to approve the opioid settlement.
Agreement.
Agreement.
And I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passed. He what? He had a meeting to go to?
And this is for the,
So I've reviewed that agreement under item B of 11.
Okay,
And basically, that's going to, Far West is going to conduct a study on the hydrographic basin up in Grass Valley. And then make a recommendation as to what, I guess, appropriate approaches that the board can take to curtail water usage or mitigate any wasted water in that hydrographic basin.
And where is the funding coming from for this? Reen, on this Far West contract for $6,000 for planning to look at the hydraulic basin of Grass Valley. Has James talked to you about where the funding?
no,
I don't know if he's already got it included possibly in his planning line.
Yeah, it's
I don't know,
possible.
because I don't know what I mean, that's a pretty large budget, but I don't know.
I know that this was pretty much coincides with the master plan.
Mhm.
So, and then there's some studies going on with the nitrate levels out in Grass Valley also. I think this is all coinciding together with Humboldt County's maybe.
It
leaning
might very well
towards-
be under the planning service budget. He's got $79,200.
Okay,
But for me to say, yes, that's part of it, I don't know.
so I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the contract with Far West to analyze the hydraulic basin for Grass Valley in the amount of $6,000 with the funding coming out of the planning department right now. And if it's different than that, then they can come back to us and let us know.
I'll second.
we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passed. So we don't know if he's coming back. We could do the rest of it if he comes back. Number 14, approval to file a protest with the state engineer of the state of that, actually state water engineer, on application number 90958, Aquatrack LLC within basin 078 Granite Springs. I guess another part of that is Pershing County, Nevada to transfer water from Granite Springs to Churchill County, Nevada. That's what
And
he's trying to do.
I spoke to Bill Barbie and they have not signed any type of agreement with Aquatrack to do that, and they won't. And so whatever we've heard to the effect that they did is not something that's true. So just so you know, Churchill would not do that. to
Yeah,
us.
so we can still file a protest.
Yes, and we definitely do it.
Yeah.
And Churchill is also
Yes.
protesting it.
Yes, they are. And this is a complete different thing. But I will make the motion to approve filing the protests with the state water engineer on application 90958 Aquatrack.
And I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. Litigation. No litigation. Report from legal counsel.
I really don't have anything to report. I have a legislative update. Suffer through. If that's
We have,
all right.
we have 12 minutes.
I don't know if I could do it in 12 minutes.
Oh.
No, I think I can. I'm just
Okay.
joking. So Commissioner Shank and I had been talking about the need for this, and I appreciate her bringing it up because it has been over a month when a lot of these new legislative matters were enacted and became effective. And so I'm going to provide this update. Commissioner Shank gave me a 2000 summary of 2021 summary of legislative outcomes that was put together by NACO. And I reviewed it, and I've selected within that just matters that I think concern the county. And if any of you are aware of other bills that are effective that I omit, please feel free to chime in. All right. And I don't know a better way to go about doing this, so I'm just going to go down my list. And it's not designed to go into full detail on these matters. It's just more just letting you know that these are out there, and then when we need to address them, we can discuss them in more detail. So AB 87 allows for a governing body to vacate an easement without a public hearing under certain circumstances. If they choose to do so, the county must pass an ordinance that outlines the circumstances under which a public hearing for abandoning an easement would not be required. So today, for example, when Burroughs Farm came in and they applied for, they asked that the county surrender Reservation Road. If we had an ordinance, we could have just vacated it without having a public hearing. So I think that's one that will benefit the county. AB 116 decriminalizes most traffic fines, changing them from criminal to civil penalties. That will become effective on January 1st of 2023. So instead of having a criminal record when you get a citation, it's going to be a civil matter. That also removes the prosecution offices, the district attorney's offices, from having to prosecute minor traffic violations, which saves a tremendous amount of time. So now we don't have to spend 4 hours in a misdemeanor traffic ticket trial. And it also frees up our law enforcement officers. AB 196 requires, as funding and space permit, a dedicated lactation room for members of the public to be provided in county courts. This bill provides for an appropriation of $50,000 through the AOC to assist with the cost of any necessary improvements to provide these rooms. NACO encourages counties to work with your courts if facility upgrades are needed to comply. The law is effective January 1st, 2022, but funds are available as of July 1st of this year. AB 253 modernizes the open meeting law for local governing bodies. Now, the open meeting law allows for governing bodies to conduct meetings entirely remote, online, via Zoom or telephone, provided that we have a physical space that's identified with advance notice, so that the public can appear at that physical public space and they can make comments. AB 280 requires single stall public restrooms to be general neutral in certain circumstances. Counties must adopt a building code or ordinance that requires all buildings built after 2021 with single stall bathrooms to be general or gender neutral. So that would affect any new construction that we have. AB 315, counties must provide information on PTSD and various mental health illnesses during employment of firefighters, correctional officers, and law enforcement personnel. Further, within 3 months after retirement, firefighters, correctional officers, and members of law enforcement must be provided 2 hours of mental health counseling. So that's something that we need a budget for going forward. AB 341 enables cannabis consumption lounges and the requirements for owning and operating such establishments. Local authority is preserved in this legislation to allow counties to zone out consumption lounges. AB 385 addresses employment contracts approved by public bodies. Right now, in accordance with AB 385, a public body is prohibited from providing fringe benefits unless the public body has adopted a policy in a public meeting that authorizes all similar persons such a benefit. The awarding of bonuses must now be done in a public meeting. Under provisions of this legislation, an employee upon termination is entitled to certain unpaid sick and vacation leave. However, this bill limits bonuses, administrative pay, or other compensation if an employee resigns or is terminated while an investigation is pending. AB 388. I'm kind of smiling when I read this. This legislation looks to expand broadband access, especially in underserved communities in Nevada. It creates a grant program for broadband infrastructure and broadband-ready community certification programs to encourage deployment of broadband. The Office of Science, Innovation, and Technology shall work with local governments, industry, and other stakeholders to develop the criteria for the program. AB 397 makes changes to the technology fee charged by clerks, and we will adjust our ordinance accordingly. AB 244 requires the defendant to be provided a pretrial release hearing within 48 hours after arrest. This will go into effect in July, on July 1st of 2022. And essentially what this means is that now a deputy district attorney, a public defender, and a judge are going to have to be on call essentially 365 days a year, or excuse me, 365 days, 24 hours. And so that might increase the costs, and it might require the county to hire another deputy public defender or contract with other counties within the 11th Judicial District Court so that there's always a public defender on call to appear at those 48-hour hearings. It shouldn't be a problem on the prosecution side because we're always on call, but it's going to be a change for the public defenders.
So the Judicial Advisory Committee or whatever, they have funding for additional requirements for the public defendants. Could we tap into that for this?
That's something that we can
check on.
We can broach with them, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm almost done.
Okay.
It's a long list.
Hey, I'm just letting you guys, hey, we have to do this, all right? Bill SB 43 makes various changes to the advisory board on outdoor recreation. Now NACO will appoint a member, which must be from a population with under 100,000. SB 77 provides for an exception from Nevada's open meeting law when the county is involved in the pre-decision discussions with a federal agency as part of the NEPA process. SB 94, I think this is important, addresses gates on public roads. In a county with a population of less than 100,000, the board may enact rules that meet minimum standards regarding the building of gates across public roads. So we can enter into an agreement with a landowner who wishes to put a gate over a public road. SB 150 requires counties larger than 100,000 to pass an ordinance allowing tiny houses in a single family zoning district. Counties under 100,000 have to pass an ordinance allowing tiny homes in one district area only. And that can be a tiny home park, a mobile home park, or as an accessory dwelling unit. SB 293, this is important for hiring, prohibits the use of prior historical salary information when considering an application for employment. After an offer is made, the county is required to disclose the applicant the range and promotion of the salary range that's offered. SB 341 is a provision in this bill. It requires all public employers to provide training on racial bias to their employees to the extent funding is available. And SB 430 creates the State Infrastructure Bank, which is funded by an initial $75 million appropriation. Counties are eligible to apply for grants from this program to fund local infrastructure projects. I think that's an important one to be aware of that we should look into. Cool. And there's a bunch of other law enforcement ones, but I won't get into those. So, that's it. That's the legislative update.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So for item number 20, are they calling in?
He is on his way, but there was a little bit of traffic, so.
He's on his way.
Yes.
Okay. Report from the administrative assistant.
Your packet, the memorial.
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of the memorial bench. Not to exceed $1,500.
And I'll second that.
Got a motion and a second for approval. All those in favor? Aye, motion passed. Good job.
Pick a bench. Did you pick one? Did you already pick the bench?
It will be on the second page.
Yes.
The middle
First
one.
The middle one? Okay. Good choice.
And I haven't been able to get together with John yet. There are 3 sizes. Ranging from 1,500 to 1,584. That's why I put 1,500, so that he can determine which size will fit better later on.
Okay, great.
And then secondly, on the agenda is Commissioner Shane asked for approval to direct a letter to NDOT asking about various bridge reports.
NDOT will do that for us if we send a letter to the supervisor and copy Will Barter. And I think it's important that those be painted. They would only paint the inside, what people would see driving across. And it won't cost us anything, and it would help improve the look of that bridge.
Not just that bridge, there are several of them. that we
Yeah,
can-
all of it there, yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve. Proceed with the letter to asking NDOT to paint the barriers on our bridges.
And I'll second
We
that.
have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. Items for future agendas.
We talked about workshops, so we have a couple of those coming up, but I think the second one, maybe we can add more things to that so that we can talk besides the EMS issues, but talk about IT and some other things too.
I did put an agenda request in. Humboldt River Water Authority can receive a grant from the Pennington Foundation to pay for half of the cloud seeding, but they would like the other member counties to, Pennington will pay for half of it. The cloud seeding is going to be about $120,000. So Benny Hodges called me and I spoke with Jeff Fontaine. And basically Pershing County would, we would be paying $1,750. The water, Pershing County Water District Conservation District would be the other half of it. So it is on the agenda for September 1st.
Okay, and so when would they be doing that? This season?
This
or-
season.
Okay. Yeah, we need cloud seeding desperately.
They would do all 5 of them. And I have the email and I will either Benny or I will tell you specifically which areas they're going to do these, but these are all already there and through Desert Research Institute. So
Any correspondence? So we are now at, since we have somebody here, at an 11 o'clock time event. 7 Traz Distillery, Tom Adams proposal to purchase windmill property. And with a 6-month lease term for.
Welcome.
1,500 months.
How are you?
Okay.
Thanks for having me, commissioners. Mr. Shields, good to see you again. So just to cut right to the chase, we had a chance to get into the structure on Saturday with my lovely bride and business partner and had a contractor along. And we would like to move forward with making a formal offer to the county to acquire the structure and surrounding lands. That juncture, we would like to offer a no cost acquisition agreement where we pay Lovelock back for whatever your acquisition costs and fee expenditures to date would be.
Okay, great.
And then with that, so we can accelerate occupancy and begin our development, we would like to ask for a 6-month lease back window. I don't think it's going to take us 6 months to arrange final financing and all of that. We've already been in contact with our bankers and whatnot, but we would like to jump at it and get going sooner than later.
So how the lease would be effective when?
September 1st, I guess.
Okay.
Pretty quick.
Okay.
I don't think we're going to need an actual entire 6-month window to complete the purchase, financing of the acquisition and all that kind of stuff, but I think that would accelerate or at least jumpstart the motions.
So we're really excited about this.
I'm really excited too. I gotta figure out the timing though to get from Reno to Lovelock. I mean, that's gonna be a problem. I will eventually get there.
How fast do you drive?
It depends on the day.
Well, and if there's any highway patrol out
There
there.
aren't.
Yeah,
Don't have
so
public safety.
Not a one.
you're okay from Fernley to here.
Right. Yeah,
Can't
great.
speak for the other part.
That's funny.
Yeah. So I will gladly go ahead and make a motion to authorize the DA to work with Tom Adams on the purchase of the windmill property, which would include a note that it would cover the county's costs on that property. So no expenditure costs, however you worded it. And that we go ahead with a 6-month lease in the amount of $1,600 per month, effective September 1. And if you're able to close escrow and all that before that, then that would be awesome.
Outstanding. We're really, really excited. A little terrified, but
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm not voting.
You're not
For-
voting? or-
I'm not voting for reasons I've already stated. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed.
Okay.
thanks, guys. We're really, really looking forward to it.
Anyway, it's nice to see you in person and thank you for doing this. And I can't tell you, I know that you're excited. We all are. And it's been a
You're my new
long,
neighbor.
yeah.
It's gonna be fun. We have at this juncture, we've not wasted a lot of time. Just as a brief update, we have an equipment selection. We figured out how we're actually gonna produce there. It's gonna be sizable. And we have some great thoughts on how, rendering on how to change the exterior appearance of the structure. So it's gonna be-
I was gonna ask could we ask Buildings and Grounds to take care of the weeds that are out there before September 1st? Because it looks
Yes.
pretty crappy, excuse me for that word.
And also.
And don't put
on-
that in the
and
minutes.
also on
Doesn't look
our-
nice.
Our other 2 lots on Cornell Avenue.
Yeah, there's a weed notice on those two. Heard from the city.
Yeah, so
What-
we already got weed notices on
Oh.
county properties. We probably need to have that taken care of.
Okay, well, you're over the Buildings and Grounds.
Who do I tell now? But since John's out.
How long is he off?
We'll be back till next week.
Oh, you could let Bruce know.
Karen, can you let Bruce know that? Thank you. Oh, can you let Frank know?
Oh, sorry,
He's not
excuse
in
me.
court? I thought he had court this week.
He had court, yesterday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Frank, I'm sorry.
So could you let them know, please? Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Look forward to working.
If you need
Thanks for coming
anything,
in.
let us know. I know you're working with Heidi and Ted and everybody and
Got on
Shayla. and-
speed dial, so
Yeah,
I'm gonna use them as much as I possibly can.
And this
Yeah.
is what, 2 years in the making?
2019.
Yeah, it's been a little while.
yeah,
We were interrupted.
yeah. COVID interrupted us there. Yeah,
Thank you so much. We're really, really
Thank you.
excited.
so are we.
This will be great for our downtown area.
Thank you for coming in person today.
Oh, my pleasure. We'll talk soon. Thank you.
Okay.
So that morning out was yesterday.
So we have a couple of minutes before 11:15. Matters of the board.
I had a meeting with Bryce and I are meeting with Rob and this community liaison person on Monday. I have a meeting on the 31st in Fallon with the whole group, and hopefully we'll have some participation from the tribes. Both Central Nevada and Humboldt River water meetings coming up. And I think that's all I have right now.
Okay. The Pershing Healthcare Foundation had their annual fundraiser on Saturday. It was a great success, and thankfully there were individuals who bid on things in the auction, and they raised, I think, about $8,000, which is great. And we have a lot of donations. And Larry, Crystal had agreed to purchase a block of 10 tickets for $450.
Who had?
Crystal, this is way back. And when I asked her about it, she said that that she submitted the voucher for it, but I don't know.
I remember seeing the voucher, but I can't tell you anymore until I get up there and look.
Okay, so then it's probably in the brigade or whatever, or maybe it's already done.
I think it's already done.
Okay,
but I'll have
great.
to check.
I just wanted to check on it to make sure. And then, let's see what else.
I thought it was very good. I was kind of disappointed in the number of people that showed up.
Bonnie Scogli said she'll help next year with getting the word out. So that's awesome. We had an FCC, Frontier Community Coalition meeting Monday, and we got an update from different departments. Nothing, drastic. The school is going to be starting, and no masks for the students, but masks for the teachers and the other employees. The adults. Yeah, I'm sure there's other things, but we all went to the meeting with the state treasurer, and that was good. And I think it's important that we put in everything we can think of for that. And I think that's about it.
That's it.
Mhm.
So we did have a airport advisory board meeting yesterday afternoon. Senior Center Advisory Board, we had a meeting week before last. TV district, we did have, I should say the sheriff had his generator guy who was doing maintenance here, went up there and did generator maintenance as well. That's all I have to. 3 minutes. I'm gonna wait for 3 minutes.
Are they coming in person?
Not that I know. So we could do it without.
Is there someone in particular?
Yeah, it's just a public hearing. Yeah.
Oh, I thought maybe someone would come. No.
Are we still recording? Lacey? Okay, so I forgot to mention that there's a free flu clinic on September 30th. It's at the community center from 3 to 7. Also, this Saturday, August 21st, the Lovelock Community Church, UNR will be there with their rural outreach clinic. And it's a good time for the students to get their back to school physicals, there's vaccines, all kinds of services will be offered free of charge. So those are great opportunities.
I'm watching my clock tick down. And I don't know of anybody that's showing up for this. Nobody on Zoom, Justin?
There's lots of people on Zoom. I don't know if they're-
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Oh, I did get a message from Lori Serene. She is listening now, but she didn't have anything to report.
Okay, thank you
Okay.
very much.
Okay, it's 11:15. We have a public hearing for 2021 Nevada State Community Block Grant Program and possible projects. We do have something in our packet that explains what's going on.
This is our second part of the hearing. Received proposals. I have not received any.
So I had a thought. I was wondering if, the Emily water system, the whole system probably needs to be redone. If we couldn't submit an application block grant for that, and we would have to do a salary survey though in Emily to make it eligible. But that was just a thought that I had. Because I think there's problems with the water, the lines themselves. I know we need a tank. There's a lot involved.
Haven't we done a similar project like that out there?
Then we could.
I see.
Yes, yes.
They were part of CDBG and they were part what they call that 8198 grant funding.
And what did that project do? You remember?
One paid for the water tank, one paid for the water lines.
Yeah,
How long ago was that?
long time ago.
Probably 8 to 10 years.
Oh,
So some of
been
those
more
water
than
lines are
that.
only 8 to 10 years old. Some of that stuff's only 8 to 10 years old.
No, are you talking about the sewer system? Or are you talking about the
Well,
water
yeah, the
system?
sewer system one also.
But the water system, something's been done there 8 to 10 years ago? I don't recall
You have
that.
the water tank. I would have to look at for the exact.
Yeah.
Maybe, well, the water tank, that even needs to be replaced.
Mhm.
I thought that he was getting the water tank funding through.
That'd be nice to get it from.
From the
CDBG
or see, yeah, one of these grants.
or the state, whatever. I mean, we can put it in everywhere.
Yeah.
But we would need what, an estimate from maybe Far West or somebody?
West to do the plan.
And do all that. And CDBG funding would pay for that too, because they pay for
Sure.
funds.
Yep.
I mean, plans, sorry, and I'm talking more. But anyway, that's a suggestion that
I think
have.
that's something we should go.
I think we should actually, yeah. That would be a great.
So do we need a motion for that to go forward?
Yes.
I don't have it on action item.
It's just the
discussion.
hearing, so we'd have to put on.
The actual proposal.
Okay.
We didn't have it, so.
Yeah,
Okay.
And then
Okay.
somebody's going to have to write the grant.
we can do that for our next meeting.
The assessment could go out with the water.
Mhm. That would be great. Okay, that was all I had.
Okay. Hearing nothing else, that brings us to public input. Public comment and discussion. No action may be taken on a matter raised under this item of the agenda until the matter itself has been specifically included on an agenda as an item upon which action will be taken. Public commentary will generally be limited to 3 minutes per person. Public comments. Now's your shot.
Thank you for that.
Okay.
You just were here just cause?
Anybody on Zoom?
I actually had something I wanted to just mention. Report. Humboldt County had a special meeting of their commissioners that I attended. They approved a broadband plan to expand fiber infrastructure in Humboldt County. They partnered with Zeno to do so. And the most southern part of their plant build out is right at the border between Humboldt and Pershing and the Grass Valley. So I did mention it to Danny and our contact at AT&T, and that would be something that would be an opportunity for them too, to expand services more than Pershing County by leveraging Zeno's fiber.
So was there a cost involved? Did they, what did it cost?
I don't remember.
Okay, but we could find out though by going to their agenda or whatever. Okay. All right.
They got it, right?
So where did they get the grant from?
I think it's part of
USDA or? Yeah, anything.
Governor's office.
Yeah,
it was I'm pretty sure it was a federal
okay.
that they could only get because they were partnering with an ISP
Mhm.
to do so.
Okay. So why aren't we doing that? I will find out more about it. I'll talk to Dave Mendiola. Yeah.
And if there is anybody on Zoom who's willing to come, so far no one has.
Don't see anything? Okay, so we are in recess for approval of,
So we have.
I guess we're not really in
We have a
recess. We're
BSA.
going to approval of vouchers.
I'll let you make the first motion. It was easier that way.
I'll make a motion to approve the vouchers minus 521.
And I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
And I will make a motion to approve voucher 521.
And I second that motion.
Abstain.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. Seeing no further business, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you very much.